Good evening and good morning, good night, whatever time you is watching our brand new podcast, 11:04. We are so grateful, so thank you to have you all here. And we also have a special guest to kick this off in the best manner. I want to present you all Trinity. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for welcoming me. I feel really shit right now.
Well, we both here experimenting a little
Yeah.
bit, but we are so proud and we're so glad that we're starting this little project up. And well, we'll be having more guests further on, but I believe it was very important to have one of our own to kick this off right here on the beautiful island of Utila. We'll try and keep it both English and Spanish, so and Spanglish sometimes. So you don't worry, you're going to understand something. If we got to put subtitles, we'll see what we end up doing on all the editing. But let me start off presenting you all Trinity. Trinity, tell us a little bit about who is Trinity
In English or Spanish?
in English.
Okay. Hi, my name Trinity. So my papa named Gringo. So my papa German, my mama Japanese. But they met here on Utila. And so I was born and raised here. I don't speak German or Japanese. So when people ask me where I'm from, I say I'm from Utila. At 23 years old, I moved to Spain. I just finished studying my bachelor in business. So then I came back just to connect back with the ocean again. But I worked up there in Madrid.
So, how was that moment when you found out, or did you always have in mind that you eventually would leave the island, either for work or for studies?
I feel like, yeah, because my papa named Gringo, so I was always looking abroad. I knew that, like, there's not too much future here on Utila. You can't really study university on Utila. They got a night school and stuff, but I was always thinking I need to go out of Utila to study, and then I could come back later if I want. So I feel like that was always expected. I always thought I would do it, so it wasn't like a big thing for me. And when I moved there, I was super chill. Like, I was super independent. Like, I don't care. I mean, me vale. And so I went there. I was super happy for a couple years, and then I started to get homesick though.
Yeah, I understand that. That personally, that's also kind of what I had to do. We know that here we only have until 11th grade, 12th grade,
Yeah.
what we would call bachillerato. That is as high as you can aspire locally. You could get online classes, but it's not the same as being there in the university, right? So
Yeah.
me too, I had to go to Tegucigalpa, be far away from home for a little while, but we made it and we are here bike, and now we're working on different little projects to
Yeah.
get people to know you till a lot more. So what would you say, since you grew up here on the island, have been some of the things that have changed, either for good or for bad?
Oof. Okay, so I find that I could notice these things a lot more because I goes and I comes back every year and a half, nah? So I feel that every time I come back, there are more buildings. Like the streets, especially. When I came here, like I came here a year and a half ago, and the streets so much, like they're so developed. They're putting streets in Blue Bayou and Trade Winds in different areas of the island. So I feel like that's a big difference. And this time that I came back, I noticed it's super commercialized. Like we got a Farmacia Siman, or however you says it, and it just a lot more, like not franchises, but more tourists, like part of tourist faces. So it kind of starting to look like Rutan, like the Huffies and everything. Like that's a part of place, but it like very different from what I used to Utila being growing up.
Yeah, definitely. Many of us that we live here or we be here most of the time, we really don't notice the changes. But every time we get our friends, our family that
Yeah.
comes from the States or that been gone a while, every time they come by, even if they're gone just for half a year, they
Yeah.
come by to see such a difference with different things that have been popping up on our island. But
Yeah.
we live on a touristic island, so one way or another, we could say it's needed. But the important part, I think, to this, to always let's never lose our culture. Let's never lose what makes us, what makes Utila Utila. It's really, at the end of the day, I would say it's people. What would
Yeah.
you say makes Utila Utila?
I think Utila a special place because the history and everything, like we were British colony before. Then, but we got African influence from the Garifunas. Then you got Irish and African slaves that came here. Then you got a British that came, and then from the Keymans, they came here too. So there's so much combinations that led to our accent being the way it is. And I feel like the people and the accent is what makes Utila special, because people were like this little gem in Honduras, like a Spanish speaking country, and you got these people speaking like this. It's very different. They got that in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, which I learned now too, but it just makes something a bit more special. But I do feel like the culture kind of dissipating or like combining with other cultures, so it not but like as strong and a more So like the Utila, like that one thing I noticed is that a lot of people speak pure Spanish now, and that's not a bad thing. Like, but when I was growing up, they were not. I think there were one person in my class that spoke Spanish, and so that way my Spanish all broke up. But then my little sister, who like 4 years younger than me, her whole class speaks Spanish too, so her Spanish a lot better than mine. And because it's the same education system as Honduras on the mainland, they don't make English like mandatory, or they don't teach about like the Caribbean history. And like I feel like that's just something that they forgot about, and we don't really talk about it because it's so cool. Like I started reading this book called Utila Past and Present. You heard about it?
Yeah, I heard about it.
This man wrote this in 1904 about the history starting from the 1500 about Utila, and so you got all the accounts when Colon, like Cristobal Colon came here and everything and visited, and he literally wrote that in his diary, and it's super interesting to read how everyone acted and how the history was there.
So, talking about our English and our culture and how, today most of our education is purely in Spanish, we do have classes in English, but do you think it would be like necessary to eventually find a way to have like a Utila English class?
I don't think necessarily Utila English class. I think it could be like for the Bay Islands, is like a Caribbean history class where you talk about it, and if the children want to speak in English, let them, but that the thing is like not everyone speaks English, so it could be kind of hard to do that. But maybe like in the Caribbean history class, you teach them about the way we speak and why we speak that way, because a lot of people always tells me because I post in my Instagram on like in Utilian, and people always telling me I speaks incorrectly, but not like you could say that, but that's not a thing. That like that's a lot of history in our accent. So maybe like a Caribbean history class where we learn about everything, the things, the peens, the good things, the bad things. I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah, it's very interesting about our history, our culture, where our English comes from. And if you guys maybe recognize Trinity, or you feel like you've seen her somewhere, well, she's been, a lot over social media lately. Her TikTok and Instagram, I'll be up in one restaurant and 2 tables next to me. I can hear her voice, and I said, boy, I gotta get her to come to my podcast because she all over, bruh. Believe me, you. So and I really want to congratulate you for the different content you're doing, especially letting people know the English that we have. I know you get a lot of bad comments. Believe me, I work in this industry. I know what it is to get bad comments all the time, but nevertheless, I've seen you always kept up the good work. What made you start really creating this type of content on social media?
Specifically, like speaking about Caribbean culture or just my social media in general?
But we could start in general and then go digging in deeper.
So I got a children's book that I wrote about the coral because I really like coral. And I always thought I wanted to create a book, but I didn't want to go and spend like a lot of time writing like an adult book because it's like a lot of words. So I was like, okay, a kid's book could be easier because I could write less words. And so I started the social media to talk about my book. And so I was posting a lot about like ocean conservation, about fish, and like fun facts about fish. And then I made one post about how I speak Caribbean English in Honduras. And that video blew up. I think I almost got 1 million views from that. I got 10,000 followers from just that one video. Wow. Sean Paul followed me from that one video. And that was like the signal to me that there not enough people represent like Caribbean, like they know not a lot of Caribbean influencers and that talks about it. And so I was like, okay, like I guess this is my niche to focus on. And so I started focusing a bit on that. I still post about my book every once in a while, but it has become like Caribbean identity, Caribbean facts, knowledge about that in general.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The way people, are so curious about our language. Although there's negative comments, I believe there's also people who really want to learn about our history, who respect our history. And well, I know some people get offended when they hear that they say, you're speaking incorrectly or speak proper English, and we're like, I wouldn't say that we speak incorrectly because there's a history to that. It's not that we're doing it because it's bad, but we're doing it because that's how we was taught. That's part of who we are, and I feel it represents us in one way or another. Personally, on this page, I'll aprovechar, like how they said, this space to clarify something. When the people ask me, well, Jonathan, why most of your work is not in English if you're doing it in Utila? I guess this question a lot, but different than Trinity, who worked especially with a special niche, I have to focus on the greater community. Yeah. I got a lot of people, not only from Utila that follows, but a lot from the mainland. So if I was only to post in English, these people would not get to understand. I could put subtitles, but that requires an extra work. And, we got a lot of different projects we're working on, so I wouldn't have enough time. Sometimes I have 10 videos a day posted up. Sometimes I'm filming so many events. But we're proud to say that Noticias y Opiniones Utila is the only news media which is bilingual.
Yeah.
We have some that are in English, about 2 or 3 in Rutan, and then the rest is Spanish. But we are the only one that tries to do it in both. If the person I'm speaking with could do both languages, I say, okay, I'll do you 2 questions in Spanish, 1 in English. But that is mostly why. So I ask everybody and thank everybody who really comprehends that area. So we're going to go a little bit now into this book you brought us here. But you got inspiration for this book.
Okay, so when I moved to Madrid, I was known as the ocean girl. I always got like my beach inspired jewelry. Like everyone knew me as that, like the ocean girl. And so I fancied it when I would tell them like, oh my God, like this about the ocean, this creature. And they're like, what the heck you talking about? Like I have no idea. And people wasn't connected to the ocean like me. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Like this is such a beautiful thing. And people like found it a bit annoying sometimes, or at least that the vibes that I got from them. And I realized it's because not like us that we grew up seeing the ocean every single day, you develop a sort of attachment to it. You seize the fish. Like it's a real magical thing to go underwater. If you haven't, like, si no se han metido en el agua, deberían, porque it's so beautiful. And so I thought, okay, what better way to teach someone that not able to see the Caribbean? Because, not everyone is fortunate on us that grew up here. I was like, maybe through storytelling, pictures, videos, they could be able to see the beauty of the ocean and fall in love with it. So I thought, how in a kid's book about the ocean could teach these children in Madrid that now, they're landlocked, so they're not near the sea, how beautiful it is, and they fall in love with it, and maybe they want to protect it in the future. So it's like kind of an ocean conservation thing, teaching them about the magical world, and hopefully they want to protect it.
And why Dodo?
Okay, just to honor my Japanese side and add a little pizzazz to things, is Dodo means spot. So she's a juvenile spotted killifish. It's one of my favorite little fishes because they're like this big. And so I just called her Dodo because that means spot in Japanese. So simple.
Very interesting. Also, how do you come up with the idea, like the drawings that you do or did you have the inspiration, or how it all came together?
So I also paint, but at the time I was finishing my bachelor's thesis. I was working full time basically at a startup because they don't got hours. So I thought it was very scary for me to start doing this too because I was scared of failure. So I didn't want to actually start the booking for it to fail, and so I was using that as an excuse to not start. And so I thought if I commit to painting it myself, I never could do it because I could keep delaying it. I could be like, oh, I'm too busy. Da, da, da. And when you gotta get into the creative flow, if you're not in the mindset, the art can come out so ugly. So what I did is I drew them super ugly with like a pencil on a paper, and then I hired an illustrator on like a freelance service called Fiverr, and she was amazing. She took my vision exactly and this is exactly what I wanted, and so I'm super happy with it.
And I guess it took a little while because I'm just reading over it, but it seems that it even rhymes, right?
It was a tricky thing because how you could balance rhyming and then also for it to sound simple for kids, but also explain a story. It was a lot of back and forth and reading it out loud to myself or to my sister, my mom, and my friends. But then, it done. I think the hardest part was just the marketing. That always the book. Like it's so hard to market things and to do social media is very tiring. So you understand, to always be editing and posting and filming and thinking about videos, and then for people 5 people to watch is like, oh my God,
No, but really seeing it, it's really interesting. And if you guys watching out, and if you especially on Utila, it'll be really great if you can support her by buying one of her books. The other day we posted it up and we had a lot of people there commenting and interested in getting one. So what is your say in the future? You want to continue doing more, or what do you think you're going to do further on?
So I really want this to become my full-time job. I want to make enough money that I could live off of it. But for now, this is my passion project. So I could work doing something else that I don't necessarily enjoy, which is my full-time job, and how the passion being.
You better hope your boss not seeing this.
Sorry, what's he? Anyways, no, I do want to make another book. So I'm talking with like other NGOs here to make one maybe about the swamper and like,
Yeah.
but Dotto could be the central character, and then she could go through different things. So maybe she meet, I don't know, a barracuda or a tarpon or a whale shark. So there's so many different stories because these are ocean adventures. So they kind of comes to me as I go, and then I just like write them down so that when I do want to design my second book, I got it in my head.
You think this could eventually even become like a cartoon?
Yeah, that one. So yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing it and I really see the
Yeah.
potential that it could become one, you know?
Yeah, so my vision, so I also created kids games so that you could print it out and play with your kid for mothers who busy and need something to keep the child busy. It's all ocean related. And so then I thought, you know, okay, we got the games, we got the book, maybe YouTube videos, animation, but officially like in the end, long run, I would like it to be a cartoon. I think that would be my like nice. You know, I want to make plushies too to sell because I love plushies and I think the character cute to make one too.
Well, whenever you get this animated, you know that here on News and Opinions, Utila, you would be more than welcome. We'll be
Thank
more
you.
than happy to be able to bring it to you all good folks that always tuning into our different broadcasts. Remember, you can follow us on our different social media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as News and Opinions Utila. We're always informing you guys of everything that is going on here on the beautiful island of Utila. Trinity, besides this book that you're doing and the work that you think this is going to help inspire kids, do you believe that there is enough awareness or enough work being done in the island considering taking care of our ecosystems?
Okay, this is a tough question to answer. So I think no. I think it's a hard thing to do because you got NGOs that really want to work hard and do these like conservation related things. But in order to enforce, and I actually asked them about this last week, in order to enforce, they need naval police or something on the boat to be able to, for example, like take away the spare fish guns or to see like check the size of the fish and be like, that's illegal. You're not allowed to fish that and take it away from people. And without the support from like the municipality, from the naval police, they actually can't enforce it. So for example, in Rutan, they got a conservation, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they got naval police and it works really well because they got a boat that I don't know where they get funding from, circles the island and just people are so scared that most of them, either they hide it really well, but a lot of them don't do this. Like they don't get turtles, they don't get like groupers or snappers when they're not in season. And so it's, I think that what Utila missing. So I don't think we does the conservation work good. And it's like a collaborative thing with the community because I think I gotta start ranting now, but like I think people think it's very short term. And you know, the mentality here is if I don't fish it, someone else can fish it. And so they could take it even if it's small, or they could take crabs with eggs, or they could take most of the females because they know they got eggs. But if you don't do that, if you do that, they're not gonna be crabs next year. You know, and just coming home yesterday, I saw these people grabbing a crab this big and they were putting it in psych. You know, it's if you constantly doing that, the island not gonna have nothing left. We live off of tourism. If you kill everything that people like about Utila, no one gonna want to come here anymore. And they hard letting a fish. Like I go in the sea and I'm like, oh my god, there are no schools of fries anymore. You don't see pelican no more because all the schools of fries gone. And it's just like they're slowly killing it because they think it's too short term.
Yeah, I believe that many people, but I've heard them say, you know, these NGOs, they're here, they're not doing nothing. But personally, I've also talked with many of them and they have told me the same problem. They don't have the authority
Yeah.
that, you know, even if they see you spearfishing and they know it's illegal and their job is to tell you it's illegal, they can't force you to give them the spear gun because they're not police, they're not law enforcement.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to, you know, give in or surrender to them. So people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But now if you, like how you said, if they would have the navals or a national police, somebody who really has the authority to say, hey, you're doing illegal, give it in or we take you to jail.
Yeah.
But I guess that this is what this space is really for, is to share awareness. And I guess everybody could do their part, even if, like how she said, if you're the one to make the difference and say, well, this crab too small, I go and let him live. Probably nobody else caught him. He got to live to see another year and reproduce, and we have crabs for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because really, we don't know how long we're going to have all these animals the way we go in.
And don't get me wrong, spearfishing not a bad thing. There are other places in the world that this works really good, but it's the people that they actually respect the laws put in place that you can't spearfish X, Y, and Z. And so if spearfishing were legal, it would be more responsibility to put on the people. But I think right now the people, a lot of them don't got the responsibility to like do it ethically or like environmental friendly way. And the simple thing is like, even something that you could already see now is when the last time you saw whale shark on Utila. You haven't seen them in so long, and there's a lot of research around it. It's not enough food for them to be like fit to be worth it for them to come. And when they come, they get disturbed by all of these boats basically running them over, getting bombarded. Instead of giving them space, they're so desperate to get their divers or their snorkelers by that whale shark so that they could get in money and show people a nice experience, that this whale shark be stressed out, can't even eat first. And then you're done interrupting. No one wants to sit down with their plate of food and how people start bombarding them, you know? And whale sharks don't come here anymore. And the crabs, like they spawns even creates a good food source for whale sharks. But if there's not enough crabs, that really feed the whale sharks or like the connected ecosystem either.
Yeah, really like how we would just talk about the spearfish, and just as an example, nothing personal against no one. And we know that there are a lot of people that know and respect the laws, especially a lot of our fishermen that live off of this area. They have to fish. They got feed their families off of it. So we can't really stop people from fishing or doing these type of jobs because Utila is not the same as the mainland.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel that has been one of the main problems because the Congress is who decides the law, but they're all the way up in Tegucigalpa.
Exactly.
They're not here in Utila to see, to understand, and to know, how our lifestyle is.
Yeah.
It's not. We understand that there are certain laws that should be universal, but there's others that I believe that depending the place apply or not.
Yeah.
You think so?
I agree, and that the same thing that applies to the education thing that we were talking about before. There needs to be some sort of customization of the laws or the education system for the Bay Islands because it's very different. Honduras is very diverse, and they need to accept that and actually plan for that.
And with this, we're not saying that we don't believe we Hondurans or that we belong to some other country, because I could done see people commenting saying, here these two gringos there talking, and this one don't even look like him, and he here defending, saying he need different laws. What we're saying is that, Honduras is diverse. And instead of seeing this as something bad, I see it as something good.
Yeah.
Because everybody deserves respect. And I believe that most of the other cultures are always talked about and taught at in school.
Yeah.
When you're in school, you learn about the Tawakas, you learn about the Pitch, you learn about the Tolupanes. We see it. I think the Garifunas is one of the most spoken about,
Yeah.
one of the most seen. But few times we hear about the islanders, and I think that in one way or another we represent a special group here in our country, and I think we are special in our own way because we bring a lot of tourism not only here to the islands but I believe to the country in general. And I think that instead of seeing us like different people or trying to be racist between each other, it's a call to respect and embrace the differences. We got Trinity here, who's been all over, and she is a combination of
Yeah.
gringos and Utilian, and she got everything in her. So she know a little bit about this interracial mix and the positive it could bring. You think that it's important as a community to come together?
Yeah, I think so. And that just applies to everything in life. Is like if you work together, it could work. But the people fights a lot about things. Like if I post something about, like the islands, we don't speak Spanish, but but we from Honduras. They're like, so you thinking you different or you better than us? That the first comment that I get, and it's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying we diverse. And we should be taken into account as someone who diverse part. Like we adds diversity to Honduras, basically.
Yeah, definitely we is part of our country, and I love my country, Honduras. I got my Honduras shirt on, but I also love Utila. I'm part of this community. I grew up here. I live here. This is where I work. This is where my family from, and I enjoys it also. So love you all, that everybody who's watching from wherever place you're watching. Entonces vamos a ver un poco cómo está el español. Trinity me dijo que tenía un poco de nervios, pero también queremos saludar a la gente que nos está viendo y que no habla mucho el inglés. Trinity, del 1 al 10, ¿cuánto le cuesta hablar el español?
Okay, No digo que me cuesta mucho, pero si me quiero como expresar y quiero tener una conversación súper fluida o más profesional, me cuesta porque no tengo como el vocabulario. Entonces, unas veces estoy como, no sé esa palabra, y lo digo en inglés y no me entienden tampoco, y no me, oh my God. Entonces, siento que no hablo súper mal como uno de mis amigos utileños hablan español pero peor que mí, pero en general me falta el vocabulario. Entonces, yo digo como de como 10 siendo como, como teniendo buena fluidez, 7 por ahí.
7 dice y habla hasta más rápido que mí. Tengo que estar aquí escuchando para entenderla. Um, Incluso algo curioso, diría que en nuestro inglés hay ciertas palabras que no las decimos en inglés y las decimos en español.
¿Cómo cuál? Ay,
Arroz con pollo.
that's true. It says arroz con pollo.
You could go to any Utilian on Utila and you go and say, I went to a birthday party, what they had to eat. He's not going to tell you rice with chicken.
Yeah.
How much times you heard a Utilian say rice with chicken? They would say they had arroz con pollo.
Yeah, what's another one?
That's
I feel like tortilla. Like, I mean, but that he says that in English too, but like, I feel like tortilla, baleada, like all these.
Baleada.
But I guess they don't got English words anyways.
Well, pollo chuco.
Pollo chuco.
You said, let's go get pollo chuco.
Yeah.
You know they ever saying,
Yeah.
let's go get dirty chicken. No,
Yeah.
everybody go say one pollo chuco. So it's really fun and it's interesting how, you know, we got the words in English, but for some reason, I guess this intercultural mix we got, there's certain words, like I said, arroz con pollo, pollo chuco,
Yeah.
that we simply go and say them in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, what other thing, Trinity, you think that we could tell the people of Utila? What other message you would like to share with everybody who's watching?
Let me impart some words of wisdom. Let's see if I could think of something. I mean, but in like what thing? Like you want more conservation? Just anything?
I think in general, we could mix. We have talked a lot about our language. We talked about our culture. We talked about differences we had. We talked about your book. We talked about many stuff today. But if you could see somebody right now instead of that camera, see the problems we facing in our island in general, we could focus on one to do make it hard on the conservation issues.
Yeah.
How would you address this?
I think if people actually focus on it again and think long term, and I think people tend to get mad at each other or mad at the other people saying, oh, like, you hunt that, so I got hunted too, or you uneducated because you not from here, que no sos de la isla, entonces no vas a entender. Like, I feel like people fight about it so much instead of just educating the people. Like, the more people that get educated and, like, understand, hey, maybe I shouldn't get a grouper that this big and got eggs. Maybe I should do it for the next year. I think slowly it could start changing. It's just a lot of patience needed. Like, a lot of patience because it's a slow process, and hopefully like in the future, like the municipality, the government get more involved in our conservation, and that we become like start focusing on it a lot more, because it is possible. You see in Cayos Cochinos, if they catch you doing something, they could take your door too. They're not gonna care about your little spare gun. They could take everything. So they're very strict with it. So maybe we could get like a midway, a little balance for it. So just have some patience with people. Just let them know, educate them. Maybe don't go cursing people out if you see them getting a little small crab or a small fish. Just be like, hey, by the way, if you kill that, you know, next year they could probably be 10% less of these for you to fish and for you to live off of.
Very wise words from Trinity, who is here with us. And as we're reaching the conclusion of this first episode of our podcast, Utila 1104, we want to give thanks to everybody, all the sponsors, everybody who's joining in this project, everybody who's watching. We'll have more people to interview further on, but we still got some more questions that you'd like to make. Just before that, little personal questions before we close, Trinity. When you in Madrid, what is the thing you miss most about Utila?
Oof. I would say not a food anymore because I found a Honduran restaurant. I would say breadfruit. You can't find breadfruit in Madrid. But then more just in Utila, you constantly around nature. You wake up, you got your mango tree there. You got trees around you. You got limes that you could pick off your tree. But then the ocean. Like, I so attached to the ocean. I don't need to bathe in the sea every day, but to be around it. Like, my skin, I don't know how I look on the camera, but it's clear right now. But in Madrid, my skin's so bad. My hair falls out. And it's just like, in general, I think my body miss it a lot. Just being in this weather because like that what I grew up in, that what my body used to. And then in terms of just missing it, like I feel like I miss the peace of being on Utila because everything a lot slower. I do think it a lot faster paced than how it used to be when I was like, I don't know, 7 years old. But it's just everything so simple, so slow. And I think that what people like a lot about Utila is it just gives them like a sense of peace. So I think I miss that because it in the city you just starts working and it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to get bike adjusted to like the slowness of Utila because I was like waking up like, oh, I need to go work and so yeah, I miss that a lot when I gone.
Definitely, when I was doing my practica, I felt the pressure.
Yeah.
And being in the city, everything was so fast, and everybody was like, "How you could be so calm about it?" I would still do my job, but I'll do it on my pace, on my way.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "You gotta do it quick. You waiting in a hurry. You gotta do it." And I'm like, "Nah, if you can't hurry me. I'm going to take my time. I'm gonna do what I have to do. It not being lazy now, but it's just like being here. You get used to slow pace, but we got things done. That's the important part of it.
But you know what I just remember is the stars. Like I went stargazing a couple of days ago, and like you could even see the fog from the Milky Way. But in Madrid, and you see like the mean couple little stars, but here it's just so different. And I was like, wow, I forgot about how good this is.
And next question. When you come to Utila, what's the first thing you like to do?
I eat a baleada. That's the first thing. So I usually eat a baleada in the San Pedro airport or like on my way through El Progreso before coming to Ceiba. Or I goes and bathes in the sea. Like that's my first thing. And if my papa feeling generous, I want ceviche. Like I just want us to eat like Italian food or like island food, let's say.
Definitely. Being here on Utila, the best thing you can enjoy is a good plate of Utilian food, a good plate of Sunday dinner, a good home fry. I mean, something you could say about Utila is the food. If you're gone from Utila talking bad about the food, something wrong with your stomach or your tongue, you cannot tasting good.
Yeah.
Trinity, if right now you had your 5-year-old version looking at this podcast, looking at this interview, that little small Chinese looking girl there sitting down with a little conch shell prop in her hand or something, what would you tell her? You think she would feel proud of what you have achieved so far? Just, looking at this book?
I think she would be proud, yeah, because she saw that like something that I wanted to do from like very young was do something like this. And so she sees like, oh, we did what we said we were gonna do. And then also I would tell her, like, don't feel bad about being diverse. That was something that I struggled with growing up. Like, oh, am I Utah Honduran? Like, I don't got family here. Do I count as like a Caribbean person? But it's like, that's something that I just needed to like accept. Like, yeah, different. Like, so like, yeah, speaks different. Like, I could speak American English with my mom and them because they're not from here. But being Caribbean is being diverse. None of us original from this island. Like, all of us like imported. We all migrated here, and that I just happened to be a more recent one. So just tell her it's okay to be different and look a little shiny.
So, Trinity, I just want to give you thanks for joining me in this first episode, and thank you everybody who's watching, everybody who left your like, leave us a little comment. There's so much we could talk about today, but the time is limited. We all, you have different stuff to do, we have different stuff to do. But is there anything else you would like to add before we close up, or you think we
get your book? If you want one, they're selling at Resort and Canahal.
That's excellent to know. I didn't really know that. I thought you was only selling it, but you said that they can find it at Resort in Canahal?
And on Amazon and start in September, but you could go on my website, trinityofutila.com.
All right, guys, you better start looking for it now before you hear that it's sold out. As I say, I posted it up and there were at least 20 comments of people interested. So enjoy and let's support our locals. Let's support the work that she has done. It's not every day that we say that a Utilian made a book. So I think we got real support. Let's leave aside any negative thoughts or ideas and let's really just do the best. If we Utilians not supporting Utilians, how can we ask others to do it? So that's where we're going to start. Para toda la gente en español, pues lastimosamente estuvimos más en inglés, pero ahí espero que hayan entendido un poquito. Trinity, solo un pequeño saludito a todos y también informarles sobre su libro, dónde lo pueden conseguir.
Hola, perdón porque hablamos puro inglés, por mi culpa, pero este es mi libro. Si quieren conseguirlo, lo pueden comprar en Resort o en Canahal, que es el museo, o en Amazon empezando en septiembre.
Así que con esto me despido de ustedes. Buenas noches, buenos días, buenas tardes, a la hora que nos haya sintonizado. Y como siempre, desde la hermosa, desde la paradisíaca isla de Utila para Podcast 1104, les ha informado Jonathan Ponce.